Hello everyone, this is Suresh from Azure ADB. Today our topic is how to create PySpark data frame using Python list, or you can say how to create PySpark data frames using different methods. So in this, these many different types of methods I covered. So one is create a data frame from list of tuples, list of lists, and dictionary, and simple list, and by defining explicit schema, and directly from a list using row and toDF. So first, what I'm doing, I'm creating help function here on top of Spark dot create data frame. So here they given different examples. So how to create data frame method. Spark dot create data frame method. So you can see here many uh, options are given, and they given some examples also. So how to create. So you can go through these different examples. So first we'll start with first method. So create data frame from a list of tuples. So if your list contains tuples where each tuple represents a row. So what it means is, so normally we'll use this method spark dot create data frame. So in this, we'll pass one is data and one is schema. So for creating data, so we can use different methods here. So today our topic is limited to this method. Okay, so how many different ways we can create this data? So first method is by using list of tuples. So list of tuples means, see it starting with list. So you can see brackets here, square brackets, and inside that each row. So my first row has this many records, 4 records. That means I have uh, these many columns. If you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So total 5 columns I have. So here I have 5 values. So these 5 values belongs to my first row of data frame, and these are defined in tuple. So you can see here this bracket. So this bracket you can see, that is tuple. So it's starting with this and this is ending with. So this is my second row, this is my third row, and this 4 and 5, 6. So if I use my create data frame method, and data is, I'm passing this method, list of tuples, and schema is columns, these columns. So these columns I'm passing in list. And if you try to create this data frame, you will get this one. So these are my columns and these are all my data I'm passing. So, and you can see here your data frame schemas. So each column schema. So you can compare with your. So since we are not mentioned schema here, and we directly mentioned columns, so Spark itself recognizing these as data types. So first one it is recognizing as long, and second one as string, and this one as long, and remaining two are string. And if you observe this, these two are integer columns, and by default it recognizing as long data type. So if you want to maintain integer type, then you have to mention schema here. You have to define schema here. So next, what I will do is, this is one of the method. So under list of tuples, under list of tuples, this is method one. So method one, what it is, data and schema defining separately. And in method two, what I'm doing, spark.create data frame, data, this data we defined here, that is this one, and schema, instead of defining here separately, so what I'm doing here is I'm defining here only. So I'm passing as like this string, as string I'm passing. So initially I'm giving single quote and ending with single quote. So in between I'm passing. So first is column name and second is data type and comma, my second column name, data type, comma, my third column name, data type, and so on. So this is method 2. So this way you can create data type. So earlier I told here, no, so this integer columns, it is reading as by default, Spark by default reading as long data type. Since I mentioned here, here data types, if you see integer columns, ID, that is integer, and age, that is integer, now it will create data types as integer. Okay, so that is my method 2. And second one is creating data frame from a list of list. If your list contain lists instead of tuples. So that means while defining data, I'm creating, so we are starting with a list, okay? So list, and inside that, earlier we created tuples. That means if I consider this is my first row values. So earlier I created with tuple, now I created with list. So that is the only difference. And if you see each record, it is list. So that's why you're calling as a list of list. So remaining this method coding and all same, and you can see here long, okay, data types, and our data frame is creating. And next one more method is creating data frame using dictionary. See, this list is common, starting and ending list is common. Now in third method, we are defining dictionary. For my first row, I am defining dictionary. So for dictionary, it will start with flower bracket and key value pair will be there. So this is my key and this is my value. So key will be your column name and value is your record. So column, record, column, value. So, okay, so 5 rows I have. So 5 dictionaries I defined inside list. So if I use the spark.create data frame, so I'm creating this data frame with dictionary. See 3 columns and these 3 columns are string type. So next, create a data frame from a simple list. That means if your list contains single column, so then how to create data frame? So here I'm trying with the 2 different methods. So first method is spark.create data frame, and I'm defining data and my column name is column data type is integer. So that means here I'm using single column. So here this is single column. So if I see this method, so spark.create data frame data and this is integer. So what it's doing is I define data here, this list of elements, that is list of integers, and this data I'm passing here, and this is my int. And if you see here, so this all list is converting to this values of this column. Okay, and if you see here, this is column name is integer and my data type is integer. So since I mentioned integer int, so I'm getting data type as int. And in second method, what I'm doing is, yeah, so here I will try to run one more time. Here I want to show one thing. So how you are getting numbers here. So this am not updated. So what I will do is, so this is my data, and while creating spark.create data frame and data, and this is integer. So that means the data type I'm passing here. If I try to create this one, here value will come. So whenever you try to create data frame with single column, and whenever you passing this list of elements like this, by default, it will give name as column name as value. So by default, value will come. So if you see here, value, column is value, data type is integer because we mentioned integer here. So later what I'm doing, this df3, that means this data frame, I'm using with column renamed. So I'm renaming column value to numbers. If I run this, so the column name will get changed from value to numbers. So next, what is method 2? In method 2, I have this list of elements, the two integer elements. So here I'm using spark.create data frame, and inside that I'm using list comprehension, and my column name is numbers. So I'm mentioning in list. This is my column name, that is this one. And in list comprehension, what I'm doing is X. See here, this is tuple. Okay, tuple, single tuple. So that's why I mentioned tuple, and inside that X and comma. So if you mention comma, then only it will become tuple. So this tuple iterating in data. So this data iterating and creating data frame. So that means in this column, it adding all these values by iterating one by one. So next, method 3 is, earlier how I defined is data as a list of elements. That means a list of integer values. So here what I'm doing, so list of tuples. So earlier in first method we saw no list of tuples. So there what happened, so we have multiple columns. Okay, some four or five columns we have. For each row we defined some 4 records. Since I have only one column, that is ID, so that's why so I want to pass for this one column, one record I want to pass. So that's why I, instead of giving integer, so I created single record of tuple. So tuple and inside one and comma. That means this is a tuple of single record. So these all values it processing here 1 to 10. And next is create data frame with an explicit schema. That means defining schema explicitly using struct type and struct field. So in this method 1, so what I'm doing, I'm importing all these functions from SQL.types. That is struct type, struct field, integer type, string type. So here I'm defining data here. So data I'm passing list of list, and I'm defining schema here. So struct type, and here I'm defining fields, struct field, and total I'm defining 2, 4, 5 columns. So if I use spark.create data frame, I'm passing data and schema. This schema I'm passing here. So I'm creating this data frame. These are all my defined columns, and these are all my defined data. And you can cross verify whatever data type you mentioned here. So same will come here. So you can cross verify one by one. So in method 2, so I'm passing here data, same list of list, and schema instead of list of elements, list of string you can say, instead of defining list of string. If you go to our first method, yeah. So here columns we mentioned list of strings. So all column names we mentioned inside the list with string type. So here what I'm doing, instead of creating list, I'm creating directly string method. So that means I'm giving triple single quote, and I'm defining column name and data type. So this is my first column name and data type, column name, data type, column name, data type. So like this, I'm defining. So next what I'm doing, I'm using create data frame and I'm passing this list. That means this data I'm passing here and I'm passing this schema here. So my data frame is created with respect to columns and with respect to data. So you can compare your schema here. So whatever you defined here, you can compare with this schema. Okay, so next we'll go for other method. Third method is in spark.create data frame. Data I'm passing here, defined here, and I'm passing here. Schema, instead of defining outside, so I'm mentioning inside only. See, this similar manner we defined here, but we defined outside. Whenever we defined outside, we given starting and ending with triple quote. But whenever defining inside spark.create data frame, schema equal to, I defined with a single double quote. So if you see here, ID is integer, name is string, and marks, this is array of integer. So array integer. That means here I have array, and array I have some multiple integer values. So that's why data type is array. First one is this is array, and inside I have integers. So that's why that is the meaning array integer. So if you create this data frame, so these are all my columns and these are all my data. And if you see here 20, 30, 40, see here this list. If you try to expand this, so this is array and I have three values and it is defined with index. So first one is 0, 1, 2. So similar way, second one you can see index 0, 1, 2, and this is array of elements. And third one, since we passed empty list, so here also it is coming empty array. And in the third one, so we have total three values. First index 0 is 20, index 1 is 1, index 2 is null. So why we are getting null here is, here we passed 21 and none. Okay, so and if you see this data type, see same thing, it is coming here, array of integer. So next, create a data frame directly from a list using row. So earlier we tried with the list of tuple, list of dictionary. So this is one more method, list of array. So for this, I'm importing PySpark.sql row I'm importing. So here what I'm doing row, and inside that I'm defining this column and values. So this column, this is value, column value. So like this I'm defining by using row method. And if I create a data frame by using this data, so my data frame is getting created. And you can see these data types. Since we are passing only column and values, so Spark creating its own data types. And if you see here ID, it passing as long. So even though it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it considering as long. And if you see age, even though these small numbers, it considering as long. Okay, so next our final method is toDF. That means how to convert data frame by using toDF. So first what I'm doing, I'm defining data here. So this is list of tuples. So I have first list and inside that I have tuples. So each row has tuple. So 7 tuples I defined inside. So now spark dot create data frame and I'm passing here employees. So this data I'm passing and this whole thing I'm converting to DF, and inside that I'm passing all column names. So if I pass like this, I'm creating data frame. So these my columns and this is my values, and you can see our data types. See here, so here also we defined only columns and we are not defined any schema here. That means data types we are not mentioned. So that is the reason if you see employee ID, it considered as long. So even though it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it considered as long. And salary, since we have dot 0, so it considered as double. Okay, so these are all the different methods. So we discussed almost on high level 7 different approaches we can create data frame by using spark.create data frame. So that's all about this video. If you really like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.